Ok.
Oi, pessoal. Bom dia. A gente está aqui na terceira palestra do dia, do domingo, do Poliglotado 2021. Dessa vez com Marjolein e Samuel, da The Language Community. E eles vão explicar para vocês como aprender mais de um idioma ao mesmo tempo. E essa palestra vai ser em português, inglês e espanhol, e também vamos ter interpretação para italiano e para português ou inglês. Então é isso. Então vocês têm a palavra.
Ótimo. Juliano, eu posso mostrar a minha tela ou não? Porque
Ah, sim, eu
fala
vou
que não é
colocar aqui, só um
possível.
minuto.
Uhum.
Co-host e o Samuel também co-host. Pronto.
Obrigado.
Ótimo. Então, oi, gente. Olá a todos. How are you? Eu sou Marjolein e estou aqui com o Sam.
Olá. Hello. Olá.
E hoje vamos falar um pouquinho sobre como você pode aprender mais de uma língua ao mesmo tempo, né? How to learn multiple languages at the same time. And por que esta apresentação? É porque vemos muitas pessoas que querem aprender mais de uma língua, mas que ficam frustradas no processo, porque não é fácil, não. Não é fácil. Pode ser que você tenha trabalho, estudos, muitas coisas acontecendo, então é difícil ver muito progresso, né? Especialmente se você está com mais de uma língua. E também o que acontece é que tem muitos especialistas que falam que você não deveria fazer isso. Você tem que escolher só uma língua. Mas umas pessoas não pensam assim. Umas pessoas, pode ser que você quer mais de uma língua. E então, eu sei que é possível, e por isso vamos falar disso hoje, né? Como você pode aprender mais de uma língua e também realmente usar as línguas e também realmente ficar multilingüe no processo. Então, vamos lá. A pergunta é possível isso? Or is it too much to ask? Não, acho que não é assim. É possível realmente falar e aprender mais de uma língua ao mesmo tempo. E também curtir do processo, porque é muito diferente aprender mais de uma língua ao mesmo tempo e ter todas essas culturas ao mesmo tempo. Então, who are we? I'm Marjolein, and you guys have asked for a little bit of Dutch, so I can say, ik ben Marjolein, ik spreek Nederlands, Engels, Spaans, Portugees, Frans, Duits, Catalaans en een beetje Italiaans. E Sam, você pode se apresentar?
Eu sou Samuel, ou Sam, como a Mario disse. Eu falo português, que é a minha língua nativa. I can speak English. Hablo espanhol. Parlo italiano. Je parle français aussi. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. E говорим мало по-русски.
Wow, Serbian is so cool. Yeah, so our story, I mean, we have completely different stories. I'm from the Netherlands, Sam is from Brazil, and
Right.
both of us grew up monolingually. So that's completely the same situation. We were really like in a monolingual environment, and we managed to integrate multiple languages in our lives, and now we use them on a weekly basis. So literally both of our weeks are filled with different languages, and it's really something that I couldn't have imagined 10 years ago. I wanted to learn French, but no one understood me when I spoke it on my holidays in France. And I was like, that thing is only possible if you meet like a French person and, you're a couple or something like that, or when you move to France. But both of us have actually learned languages from home and have managed to really enjoy this multilingual process, and oftentimes learning multiple languages at the same time. So I've learned French and German at the same time, and Portuguese and Catalan, etc. Sam, which languages have you learned at the same time?
Yeah, I've learned French and Italian at the same time. And now I'm learning German and Serbian at the same time.
Exactly. Now, if you guys have a similar story, please write in the chat which languages you're learning at the same time, because I mean, probably you are learning languages at the same time, and that's why you're here.
Tanya,
So,
Marjolein, I would just
yes.
like to say that our German interpreter arrived, Tanya. So I'm going to put her in the booth now. She is Dutch and German.
Awesome.
That's great.
Okay, so feel free to share which languages you're learning in the chat. It's always interesting to see which languages we have in common. And so today we really want to take you on this journey to feel more empowered about like learning multiple languages, because so often we're told not to do so, but just some people like Sam and me have the personality to learn multiple languages at the same time. So we want to help you do the same. And so we'll be giving you clear steps to take, practical tips and mindset shifts so that you're able to do this as well. Now, if you're ready for today's talk, like we are, then please write sí, yeah, okay, or whatever language you're speaking, write yeah or yes in the chat, and we'd love to see which languages you're speaking. Sam, is yes in Serbian like Russian, like da?
Yeah, same thing, da. In Romanian too, right? I think a lot of Slavic languages, it's da. This is so cool. Romanian is not Slavic, but...
Awesome. Okay, well, Sam, you're up.
Awesome. Really excited to be here, guys, talking to you about this amazing topic. A lot of people ask us this, about this question, how to learn multiple languages at the same time. How do you do it? How is it possible? And it's all about training, right? Like you're not born with the instant ability to speak multiple languages. Not even one language, you have to learn it. So it's really important that you understand the method behind it, that first you understand that it's possible, and then the method behind it. And this is what we're going to do today for you guys. So first things first, before we even start to learn multiple languages, it's important that you commit to the language that you're going to learn. So like commitment is really important. Like if you don't have commitment, it's hard to go the whole way. It's hard to stick to your path that you decided. So like really commitment before you start it. Then effective learning techniques. We're going to talk about tried and true techniques, things that we use every day, things that we use that work for us, and motivational techniques too, because like to me it's really important that you are motivated along the way, because that makes the whole thing easier. If you are demotivated all the time, it's going to be really hard to stick to your language learning routine and to the language that you are learning. Self-evaluation, so you know what are the things that you did, and the progress that you've made, where you want to go, where you are, and where you want to go. This is really important as well. So let's move on. All right, commit to the languages that you are learning. This is so important. Before I even started learning the languages that I know now, I was starting to learn English. I didn't know about this. Of course, I was still discovering a lot of things in the language learning world. And I didn't really commit. I was like dabbling. I was learning English, but I was kind of learning it. But it was only truly when I committed to really learning English for real that I started seeing progress. Like, so you can just be like, oh, I kind of want to learn it. I'm going to start this just so I see where it takes me. This is not the way to go, because like it's going to be hard for you to stick to it. That's why a lot of people dabble, actually. That's why a lot of people get distracted with other languages. It's because like at the beginning, they didn't commit enough to the language that they were learning. So you can learn for the long run or for the short run, but you have to be committed. Either if you want to learn the language till fluency, or if you want to learn just to have a short conversation with someone and just have short conversations. But you have to commit fully, really have this goal and set this goal. Feel like already feel how it feels when you get there, like visualize it and do the work that is necessary to get there. And you can just track it and do it the right way, right? So believe that you can learn multiple languages. I know this sounds very like coachy, but this is so true. Because like, if you say, I don't really have the time, or if you say, I'm not suited to learn multiple languages at the same time. I only learned one language at a time. I never tried to learn more than one language, and I don't feel confident enough about it. If you do it like this, you're already like, your brain's gonna back it up. Your brain's gonna find a way to say that you are right? Because you said this. So you're gonna look for excuses to actually back it up. But if you say, I'm committed to this, like other people did it, they're not better than me, I can also do it. And if you really believe that you can do it, it's the first step. You have to believe. Otherwise, you'll come up with excuses. Insecure thoughts stop us from even trying. So, like, if you have those insecure thoughts, you're not even gonna try, and you're definitely going to fail in the future because, like, you didn't really, believed that you could actually get there, and so you probably won't, right? You have to believe. So, how many languages should you learn? All right, this is also part of knowing yourself, self-awareness too. So like if you really like don't like dividing attention, you should commit to actively learn 1 to 3 languages at the same time. This is actively, okay? Because we're talking about multiple languages. But like actively, if you're not great at dividing attention 1 to 3. Like for example, me, I learn usually 2 languages at the same time, right? I don't like actively learning more than 2 because that's really gets in the way. I cannot like it's not sustainable for me. But still, what I do is I learn the others by doing incorporating fun activities and simple activities throughout the day to just learn a little bit every single day. So I just do, for example, I'm learning German and Serbian now. Those are the ones that I'm learning actively. But at the same time, I'm always watching a YouTube video, let's say in French, or I'm watching a show on TV in Italian. I'm watching a series. So like always doing something like this to actually learn passively too. And I just focus on 2 because that's what works for me. You have to realize how many would work for you. And it would be great if you guys could tell me in the chat how many languages do you feel comfortable with like learning actively? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4, 5? Let me know in the chat because I'm curious to see what are your answers. For me, it's 2, right? Uh, awesome. Marjolein is also 2 or 3 that have to be different levels or really apart. 2. I like how a lot of people are saying 2. I feel like I'm not alone. Awesome. Yeah, one hard and one that's easy. I like this answer because like this is so true, right? Like one more close to the language that you know and other more distant, right? Like linguistically speaking. This is really cool. This is for me too. Like for example, my German is actually a little bit than my Serbian, so that's kind of it's even better. It's even better when you learn languages that, for example, one is stronger than the other, right? It's not uh, a great idea to start 2 difficult languages, 2 distant languages at the same time. It's going to demand a lot of effort. So I like these answers. I like these answers.
Definitely. And I
So
also
let's move
saw
on.
someone saying that they try to choose one that is indeed similar to the languages they know and one that's really different. Later, we're going to talk about what to do when you choose 2 languages that are super similar, because I have done that very often because I just love Romance languages, but of course they can be quite similar. So what to do in that case, we're going to talk about that later as well.
Yes, we're really excited to talk about it to you guys.
Entonces, ¿puedo continuar en español? Esta parte vamos a hablar sobre los effective methods, ¿no? Cómo aprender de manera eficaz. Porque si tú aprendes más de un idioma al mismo momento, vas a necesitar que saber un poquito más cómo aprender, porque si no, vas a quedar poquito tal vez demotivado porque no ves nada de progreso. Entonces es importante primero no dudar, como ya hemos dicho, no dudar si se puede o no se puede. Sí se puede aprender más de un idioma, lo sabemos, es posible. Y entonces ir directamente a las actividades que te van a ayudar, ir un poquito más, un paso más adelante para este nivel que quieres llegar, ¿no? El nivel fluido, conversacional, lo que quieres llegar a hacer. Entonces, ¿qué actividades son hiper importantes cuando aprendes un idioma? Primero, la pronunciación. nunca dejes de analizar la pronunciación, porque siempre vas a aprender cosas, tal vez, por ejemplo, la entonación o cómo pronuncian una palabra que es nueva para ti, ¿no? Entonces, siempre analiza la pronunciación de las palabras. Y eso se puede hacer, por ejemplo, en YouTube con videos que son justamente para la pronunciación, que te expliquen exactamente cómo funciona, o tú mismo puedes analizar en canciones o en podcasts o lo que sea. Y si se puede, mejor con el texto también, para que hagas la conexión del texto y la pronunciación, porque muchas veces nos quedamos con cómo se escribe la palabra, entonces el alfabeto, pero no cómo se pronuncia. Y cuando tú puedas juntar las dos cosas, el texto y cómo se pronuncia, entonces vas a poder memorizar las palabras mejor, vas a pronunciar las cosas mejor y vas a escribir también muy bien. La segunda cosa es aprender reglas gramaticales. Ahora, yo no me refiero a aprender todo un libro de gramática porque primero es muy aburrido, entonces por ese caso también, en ese sentido también te puedes quedar demotivado. Pero también segundo, muchas veces un libro de gramática te dice una cosa, pero en la vida real la gente se expresa de otra forma. Entonces, sí se puede usar libros gramaticales o videos en YouTube que te expliquen la gramática, pero siempre y cuando también lo combinas con el contexto real, ¿no? Entonces, de vez en cuando ver cómo funcionan algunas reglas te va a súper ayudar, pero también analizar cómo la gente lo usa en la vida real. Lo mismo con palabras, puedes tener una lista de palabras, pero por favor también analiza estas palabras en un contexto real, cómo usar estas palabras, porque cuando tú analizas en un contexto real, ya sabes cómo usar las palabras y también te va a ayudar muchísimo a la hora de memorizar las palabras.
Sí, eso es muy importante.
Perdón, Sam, ¿querías decir algo?
Sí, solo quería decir que yo hice lo mismo con el inglés, así que para mejorar mi pronunciación yo hice la misma cosa. Bueno, presté mucha atención en los nativos, cómo decían las cosas y
Sí.
hice shadowing, así que escuché bastante, traté de pronunciar igual, así que la pronuncia es bastante importante si quieres realmente llegar a
Sí.
un buen nivel en el idioma.
Sí. Claro, yo también lo hice para el portugués porque si no tenía el sentimiento que estaba hablando español con un acento raro, ¿no? Tipo, no era portugués todavía. Entonces también he hecho bastante análisis de cómo se dice eso. Entonces si termina en te, es chi, ¿no? Entonces tienes que analizar todo eso para mejorar tu nivel. Y por último,
También puede ser t, como en Portugal.
Sí.
Sí.
Pero eso depende del... Hola, Matías, ¿cómo estás? Depende entonces
The
del
first year of Saute.
que quieres aprender. Entonces, pero por último, hablar. Mucha gente hace muchísimo de aprender reglas gramaticales, aprender palabras, pero nunca lo hablan. Entonces, ¿cómo vas a esperar mucho progreso a la hora de hablar si nunca hablas, ¿no? Entonces, por favor, incorpora eso también en el aprendizaje. Esa regla probablemente ya conocen, pero también hace que tu aprendizaje sea aún más eficaz. Es el 80-20 rule, que básicamente significa que tú puedes hacer algunas cosas que te van a ayudar muchísimo, que te van a dar muchísimos resultados. ¿Y a qué me refiero? Por ejemplo, si tú aprendes una forma de expresar el pasado, uno del futuro y uno del presente, puedes expresarte mejor que cuando aprendes 4 formas de hablar del pasado y ninguno del futuro y ninguno del presente. Entonces, intenta poder comunicar ya desde el día 1 o bueno, después de un mes con lo que tú te sientes cómodo.
Es que la forma para poder mantener un diálogo ya desde la primera semana es dominando una gramática muy básica.
Eso.
Matías,
Entonces,
vamos a hacer
claro.
comentarios en el final, ¿ok? Gracias.
porque a veces pensamos que necesitamos todas las reglas, pero no es así. Necesitamos solamente una forma de poder expresar el futuro, el pasado, etcétera, etcétera, tu opinión, hacer una pregunta y de ahí vas mejorando poco a poco. También tomar notas te puede ayudar bastante. Yo lo hago cuando escucho la radio catalana, entonces como que escucho y tomo algunas notas de las palabras que sé que voy a utilizar, voy a usar. Y también combinar el active y passive learning, como Samia dijo, puedes escuchar la radio cuando estás haciendo otra cosa, también te ayuda, ¿no? Sam, te toca.
Sí, ahora en español.
Muy
Mira,
bien.
ahora sí estoy listo para hablar en español después de escuchar esta parte. Como que es algo bueno también prepararse, ¿no? Prepararse antes de que vas a utilizar la lengua. Así que me preparé con
Genial.
esta plática de Marjolein. Ok, estar motivado. Mucha gente, como dije antes, mucha gente cree que no es necesario estar motivado, que tienes que hacer lo que tienes que hacer y ya. A mí no me gusta eso. A mí me gusta que el proceso sea bueno, que me guste el proceso. ¿Y cómo hacer para que estés motivado todo el tiempo? Bueno, sí vas a tener días que estás menos motivado, pero ¿qué puedes hacer cuando estos días lleguen, no? Haga las cosas que te gusten, que ya te guste. Por ejemplo, si te gusta una película en portugués o en inglés y ya la viste y ya hablas inglés o portugués y quieres aprender, por ejemplo, español, puedes mirarla con doblaje en español. Si está en Netflix, puede cambiar el idioma. Y así puedes practicar con lo que te gusta. Y así es más fácil porque ya quieres ver y también quieres entender. Así que es importante mirar y consumir contenido que te guste, porque así hace el proceso mucho más fácil. Hay que medir también tus actividades y tu progreso, por supuesto, porque lo que puede pasar es que si solo hace sin medir, no vas a ver tu progreso. Si solo estás haciendo aleatoriamente lo que te gusta también, sin un método, sin técnica, también no vas a ver tu progreso y puedes quedarse demotivado, ¿no? Entonces es muy importante también que midas tu progreso. Yo hice, por ejemplo, de nuevo con el inglés y también creo que un poquito menos con el español porque ya tenía un buen nivel en inglés, ya sabía más o menos qué hacer. Pero principalmente con el inglés lo que me pasó conmigo es que como no tenía técnica, no tenía un método, hacía lo que me daba la gana y lo que me gustaba, solo pero sin medir, sin saber lo que estaba haciendo, sin saber mi progreso, sin saber dónde estoy y dónde quiero llegar. Eso es muy importante. Acordarse de revisar lo que hiciste y o dónde estás y dónde quieres llegar, ¿no? Eso es muy importante. Y también planear estos momentos donde vas a utilizar el idioma es muy importante también en tu semana. Así que, por ejemplo, puedo decir, lunes voy a hablar español en The Language Community, por ejemplo. Y viernes voy a hablar con un amigo. Así que tener estos momentos donde vas a utilizar y planear estos momentos también es muy importante. No dejar que pase por suerte, ¿no? Que lo hagas planeado. Es así, estás seguro que vas a hacer lo que necesitas para mejorar.
Uh-huh. Entonces, con estas dos cosas vas a ver que realmente estás haciendo cosas que es necesario. Entonces, si no puedes medir tu progreso, por lo menos puedes medir tu input, ¿no? Cuánto has trabajado, porque sabes, si haces las cosas que hemos mencionado antes, vas a progresar. Entonces, por lo menos puedes medir eso. Pero también los speaking moments, yo he tenido eso mucho con el español, que siempre me fui de vacaciones a España o a Latinoamérica y cada vez que vi a amigos me dijeron, wow, tu español ha mejorado, ahora hablas mejor y no sé qué. Entonces eso sí te ayuda muchísimo con la motivación. Y aquí también lo tenemos, que por ejemplo, hace un año hablé el portugués, el portuñol, y dije, tenho cachorro, mas não podia falar muito mais, né? No, era más difícil expresarme en español y ahora puedo hablar mejor. Entonces eso también te ayuda muchísimo con la motivación de decir, bueno, por lo menos puedo medir estos momentos Y eso es muy importante cuando aprendes más de un idioma, que en cada idioma puedes ver, estoy progresando un poquito, ¿no?
Así es.
I think I was just going to do this in English. So here we go. The next step is to be kind and honest to yourself. Now, I mean, really, we learn languages because we want it to be fun. It's our hobby. Of course, it'd be amazing if we speak like 1 billion languages. But first, accept that you're good enough no matter the outcome. Okay, so whether you speak 10 languages or 5 languages, I think you're still an awesome person. To me, it doesn't matter. So first accept that when you get demotivated and you don't see any progress. The next thing you can do is, if you still want to improve and you're like, I want to get back on track, then ask yourself this question. What could you have done differently in the last weeks to potentially see more results? Yeah, what could you have done differently to see more results? And ask this in a really kind and honest way. And if basically you have not spent a lot of time in a language, then don't expect yourself to be good in that language. I'm going to say it again because it's super important. If you have not spent a lot of time with the language, don't expect yourself to be good in that language. Because very often we are like, but I intended to learn German and I'm still not fluent. Okay, but how much have you actually learned? Right? So that's the first step. Then be honest with yourself and kind to be like, okay, do I still want it? Yes. Okay, I'm going to start today, going to get back on track. I'm going to watch a YouTube video every day, or I'm going to speak with a friend every day. But like, being honest is the first step.
So yeah,
now,
a lot of
also,
sometimes,
sorry, Sam.
Interrupt you. I just want to say real quick that some people just message me saying like, oh, I'm doing this and it's not working. But then like they're not really doing anything. They're just like, they watched a video today and like 5-minute video and say like, oh, it's not working for me. Or let's say, for example, they just do a Duolingo lesson for the day. Every day, like every other day, a Duolingo lesson. And like, that's, I'm not making progress, you know, so spending time with the language.
And we have to be really honest to ourselves. And sometimes it's kind of confrontational and we might not like asking ourselves the questions, but in the end, it's more empowering because you're taking the control again. Versus if you're ignoring it, you know, you're avoiding asking yourself that question. You're just like, oh, you know, it sucks, or this language is difficult, or, you know, but when you ask yourself the question, you're like, oh, hey, I'm in charge. I'm the one that could change my outcome. So the next question, though, is some people are spending a lot of time with the language and they're still not seeing results. So what if you're learning Arabic and German at the same time and you feel like you're not seeing any progress? Then try another strategy. It's time for a change. So for example, if you have only been listening to Arabic songs, but you don't understand any words, you know, but you do this every day, but you still don't understand anything, then maybe you need to grab the lyrics, translate the lyrics into English, then analyze the words, or maybe you should take more notes, or maybe you can use some memory hacks. So that means like, okay, the word sounds like this, so it will help me to remember it. But you might need a different strategy. As I said, maybe you need to incorporate more speaking. But if you are really like analyzing, evaluating your own progress, you will see what you need. It will be kind of obvious, like, oh, maybe I need more grammar, more pronunciation practice, maybe I need a class with a teacher. So try something else and you're going to get there. Now, this is the part I said before. Very often when we talk about learning multiple languages, people say, no, but if they're very similar, I can't do that. Well, I think we all know some people that have managed to do it. And I'm one of them. I mean, speaking Catalan, French, Spanish, Portuguese, like they're all really similar. And I don't mix them up that much anymore as I used to. So at the beginning, I'd mix them up a lot. And I would often laugh about it, but sometimes I would, of course, be like, haha, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be learning them at the same time. This is ridiculous. It's not going to work. But in the end, it did work because it realized that my brain, or everyone's brain, works in this way. When we mix up a language, it's because either one language is just a lot stronger, or because the language that, you know, your brain used to fill up the word was a language that you've been exposed to a lot. So even in Spanish, I can sometimes throw in a Portuguese word because I listen to a lot of Portuguese, you know, like I'm exposed to it in that way. So then if I do that, I understand that my brain just wants to help me, and I don't really blame my brain. I'm just like, okay, thank you for that word, but like, what is the word in the language I was trying to speak? You know, so that's all good. Then there are things you can do about it though. So before, Sam already talked about preparing your brain before speaking a particular language. I love doing this. If I haven't spoken Catalan in a month, I don't expect my brain to just, you know, turn on that switch. I would like listen to the radio a little bit and then I'd be ready, or talk to myself a bit and then I'm ready. If there are languages that I'm really strong in, then it's easier. But even then, like if I don't use French a lot, I might need to activate it again before. And this is especially useful for the languages that you don't actively learn. Remember, we have languages we actively learn and languages that we kind of have on the background, but it doesn't mean you've forgotten those languages. It just means that you might need to activate them. And the other tip was, if you're learning two languages that are very similar, like Italian and Catalan, what is really important is not to think that they're similar, but actually really contrast them, like see the differences. Or Dutch and German, there are so many differences between these languages. So you need to contrast them and to be like, okay, well, if I speak Catalan, then we say this way, but if I speak Italian, we say that way. So actually finding those differences. So you basically are creating two boxes in your brain, one for one language and one for the other. And that's been really, really useful for me. I usually have a list and I contrast them. And then after a while, I don't need that list anymore because it just got two different boxes in my head, basically. Yes. And
so that's it.
Finally,
can I say something first before we move on? Real quick, because like the things that are similar or they are the same, we're gonna do that instinctively, right? Like we're not gonna have to think about it. So really, like Mario said, it's perfect. Just focus on the small details that are different, and this will actually make the whole process much easier. Because the other things that are similar or the same, you're gonna do that automatically, right?
Exactly. At the beginning, you might need to write them down, but then like you just make a mental note and it becomes logical. Also, very often the word endings. So, you know, in Portuguese, it could be like mente, in Spanish, like mente, and then, you know, like you kind of like contrast them.
That's right.
And finally, this is also a lot of fun. That's why we're here at Polyglotair. Thank you, Juliana, for organizing this, which is to make multilingual friends. I think this is the best thing if you want to learn multiple languages. Surround yourself with people that know that it's possible, that are actually proving you like, look, I'm doing the same. And I can give you exactly that push when you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, because we all have those moments. And that's why I really, really appreciate everyone that's here and everyone that always reaches out to me on Instagram. And, you know, I've met a lot of nice people this way that are also learning multiple languages. You might want to be part of a community. I know there's great communities in Brazil. Sam and I have also created our own global international community called the Language Community, where we practice 7 languages on a daily basis. And Sam can tell you a little bit more about it in a minute, but I want to say that I have noticed a lot of progress in all these languages because of speaking them regularly. You're not ashamed anymore of speaking them. So I'm like using my French everywhere here in Barcelona because there's a lot of French people, and Portuguese and Italian and all of that. And on top of that, like you don't mix them up so often anymore because you have this regular practice where you're really able to say, okay, now we switch to this language and now we're speaking this language. So it's becoming really, really easy, really natural. Sam, what do you want to say about this?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing about the confidence that you get by practicing the language every day, like you practicing in with other people, that's really, I think it's very, very important in language learning that you have this confidence, because you can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't have confidence in using the language, that knowledge means nothing, right? And you can have a little bit of knowledge and a lot of confidence and actually sound really good. So I think like the confident aspect is really important, and also like just how it's everything easier because like it's already scheduled and people are going to be there. Like this way, it makes the whole process easier. That used to be a struggle of mine to actually like every time, for example, I'm trying to practice German, practice Serbian or something. We don't have Serbian yet, but for example, for the language that I want right now, I want to speak to someone right now, or I don't. The person is busy, and then it's hard, like. So it's really good that we have this project here, have this amazing community too. And
Definitely.
yes, everyone is welcome. And I want to thank everyone too for the comments. I see that Kobe is here. Hello, Kobe. And I want to say thank you to everybody who commented, who watched our presentation. We're going to open to ask to questions too, right, Mario?
Definitely. Fire away.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe you could stop sharing your screen now.
Yes.
And it was a very exciting talk, multilingual, right? Portuguese, Spanish, and English. And also for the interpretation, I was using two devices, my notebook and my cell phone, in order to be able to listen to both talks at the same time. And I was listening to Italian and then German and then Portuguese. And it was really multilingual.
This is awesome. Thank you guys for the interpretations too. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, Tanya
admiring.
was interpreting into German, Stefania into Italian, and we also have Natalia and Isadora into Portuguese. Great. So people, do you have questions? Because we have so many comments here.
Yeah, I'm just going through the comments now. Thank you. I couldn't see them because I was sharing my screen and it didn't work, but thanks for participating. That's really nice.
Yeah, we had almost more than 30 people in some moments here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Jurubola, what do you think about learning more than one language at the same time? Let us know. I don't know if Jurubola is here.
Hello, Jurubola. How are you?
Is he here?
Yeah, he was here.
Hello, Loita.
Hello.
Hola, amigos. Estamos vivos. Está aquí en la interpretación de alemán.
Ah, de alemán.
Super.
Yeah,
so he prefers the voice of Tanya.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Lernst du Deutsch gerade, Jurubola? Oder sprichst du Deutsch schon?
Ja, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, vielleicht genügend Konversationen zu halten, aber ich muss mehr und mehr üben mit ihr, mein Freund.
So I have a question. Samuel and Marjolein, do you think people are most willing to learn one language at a time, or more than one language at a time, 2 or 3? What do we have the most in terms of public?
Do you want to start, Mario? I think you.
Yeah, sure. I think that, very often someone starts their multilingual process just with one language, because very often there is a reason, like you're going to study abroad, or because of a partner, or because of work, or whatever. So very often people start with, for example, just Spanish. It's a really common language to start with by yourself. But then, once we find someone, whether it's on YouTube or in real life, that speaks a lot of languages, then all of a sudden we want to learn like a billion at the same time, or we're like, oh, I want to also be like that, So I think there's a little bit of both, like at the beginning, just like one language, and we really get super good at that language. And then all of a sudden we want to learn a lot of languages, and we don't know how to do that in the same way as learning only one language, which indeed is tricky. But what I want to highlight here is that very often we think that it's like an all or nothing situation. So it's like, oh, if I choose these 2 languages, I'm never going to learn all those other languages. But actually it's better to be like, okay, this year or just the next months, for the next months, I'm going to be working on my German and a new language, for example, Russian. And then after that, you can still swap, and you could say, okay, I'm going to keep my German and I'm going to actively learn another language too. So like, try to focus on just a few per month and see after a couple of months if you want to change. What do you want to add to that, Sam?
I get some messages too, like of people saying, I want to learn multiple languages. How do you do it? I get this all the time. So like in my DMs, I'd say most people want to speak multiple languages. more than two or more. Because like the thing is, they get into our profiles, Mario, and they see all of us guys speaking multiple languages, and they say, "Oh, I want to do this too," you know, like they see that and they get inspired. So that's what usually happens. But I think most people, like generally speaking, think that learning multiple languages like is not possible. It's just for a number of people, you know, special people in the world. You guys have heard this before. Like people say, like, "Oh no, you're like." You're the language guy, or you know, like I'm not, you know, suited for language learning. I can't learn multiple languages like you. But like, that's so not true, right? That's so not true. We know this
So
is not true.
you are trying to show here that you are not special. That's it, right?
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
I'm not even
100%.
exactly.
I would love that to
Especially with all of
be,
you guys here.
spread around. Yeah, that the people that learn multiple languages might be crazy, but we're not necessarily like super geniuses. We just like it and we
Absolutely.
analyze it and we put time on it, like we spend time on it, and then that's how we learn them.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
question by Marcelo. Learn a new language using a second language that you already know. Does it work? Like if your mother language is Portuguese and you have a pretty good English and start learning German in English. That's not your native language. Yeah, that's the previous talk by Miguel, like leathering. What do you think about that, Marjolein and Sam?
I love it. And for
Me
me,
too.
it wouldn't be, well, probably Sam has the same experience. Like, I mean, Dutch is such a small language. Like I never use Dutch to learn another language. I always use English, but then, sometimes you want to learn more languages. So yeah, I've learned a little bit of Japanese in Portuguese, which was great. No, I think it's a great method. Also, the talk before of Daniel, or sorry, David, sorry, was also about his methods, the translation. His translation method, you could use two languages that you're learning. So for example, a lot of people here want to learn Spanish and German. And so if you use his tool, then, you'll be learning both languages. So that's really good.
Yeah, I think Marcelo was trying to see if Miguel was telling the truth or not. And Marjolein confirmed.
There you go. There you go.
Miguel, what do you have to say about it?
I think you said everything, Giuliano. Yeah, you were right. Like the rest of it was in my talk that I gave earlier, and it's going to be on YouTube pretty soon.
Yay.
Awesome.
I'm going to be
Yeah,
watching
great.
it.
So the thing is that people start learning one language, then another, and then they have to keep both languages and then still learn a third, fourth language. So it's a natural way for people. They have to keep their languages. So
Exactly.
in the
Why not
beginning,
learn another
yeah.
from that language, right? Like, why not do laddering?
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
A comment by Francesco from Italy. My field of interest is minority languages of Italy. Sometimes it's not easy working on several causes. They are quite close. Luckily, there are some minority languages that don't belong to the Italo-Romance group. I'm trying to work on 2 each year, not being able to work on a daily basis because of distance. I'm not located in Italy and lack of speakers can slow down the process. Yeah, so good question, how to find speakers nowadays, Marjolein. I think the language community is a way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For example, for Dutch, it definitely is. There's a lot of people that want to learn Dutch, but they don't know where to find these Dutchies that want to help them in their language, because we like other languages a lot instead of our own. In this case, for Francesco, what a challenge to learn really similar languages, like for example, different dialects, right? Or minority languages, as you're mentioning. Keep it up. And I think it's really nice already that you're going to be understanding all of them. And little by little, you'll be able to separate them as well mentally. Awesome. I'd like to hear more about it.
Friend, right? A friend from that place to find someone, at least one person that you can regularly talk to. Francisco already know this, but it's cool to mention it here again. To find someone else that you can talk to regularly, right? Because like it's hard to learn a minority language alone. I'd say it's impossible. Totally alone. Like how?
in David's talk, he mentioned that some countries speak English very well, like the Netherlands. And my question is, and I heard this, when we go to the Netherlands, people speak English, and those who want to learn Dutch find it difficult to speak Dutch to Dutch people. How can we make Dutch people speak Dutch, Marjolein?
Yes, Mario, answer us, please. We need to know this.
Hi. Well, basically, this is the thing. If you have a really good accent in Dutch, people are going to be directly blown away, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, like you speak Dutch. And then they might talk with you in Dutch for like 5 minutes, and then they switch to English. Now, how to keep on speaking Dutch with a Dutchie, I really recommend, an environment like the language community or language classes, until you get to that level where, people don't switch back to English. And another thing is just being really, really stubborn. So what happened is, I lived in Spain already like 7 years ago. And when I came here, my Spanish was like really bad. And I remember that here in Barcelona, people are really like willing to change to English because they're used to tourists. And I would have to be stubborn, but luckily I am. So I would always be like, no, en español, por favor. And I would like almost act like I was offended if they would talk English, but like, no, I wouldn't do that anymore. But like, I recommend my students the same thing always. Like, if you want to speak Dutch already, then be stubborn and just be like, in the Nederlands alsjeblieft. Or sometimes I say, just act like you don't understand English.
Okay, so Miguel has a question, but also I would like to end interpretation because perhaps the interpreters have questions as well. So I'm going to end the interpretation now.
Yes.
Die Dolmetscher fragen, deshalb werde ich jetzt das Dolmetschen hier beenden.
Oh, you could listen to the last sentence by Tanya. Okay, Miguel, please.
So I wanted to ask the two of you of your experiences, since you both mentioned that you learned 2 languages at the same time. How were those experiences and how are the experiences that you're doing now? For example, Sam, you mentioned that you're studying German and Serbian at the same time. How is it for the two of you?
That's right. Okay, so what happens is I still do in some degree, I put one above the other. So like, even though I'm studying actively German and Serbian this month, like German is on top right now because I'm also doing a speaking challenge at the language community. We organize these speaking challenges. So you have to speak every single day. This way I become accountable with speaking, because to me speaking is like the ultimate. And so this is what I'm doing. I just put, it's like one step above, it's German, and then there's Serbian. But I still study both actively. I get enough practice every day for each one. And what is happening is, I love it. I think it's great. It's a great way to actually stay motivated too. Because like, it doesn't get boring, it's impossible. Right? I'm not saying like when you study only one language it gets boring. No, I'm just saying like it's easy to maintain that high level of motivation when you're learning both at the same time. That's what I mean. And it's been great. It's been great. Very challenging, of course. These are 2 languages that are not close to Portuguese. Especially right, like Serbian, because like I still have influence of English in German, so it kind of helps me a little bit. But with Serbian, it's a totally new thing. But I love the process, I know that it's going to take me a long time and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, talking about a long time and your future self. We had a talk yesterday morning about it by Plinio. It was great how to think about yourself in the future when you will be fluent in that language.
Nice.
Exactly.
I don't know if, yeah, Marjolein, please.
Want to say anything about this?
Yeah, so, sorry, what did you say, Sam?
Yeah, about the 2 languages experience. Because like he asked both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that what has changed in the past years is that I'm a lot more confident about my language is not disappearing. Very often I hear people say like, oh, but if I leave that language, then if I'm not maintaining it, it's just gonna go. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, like it's still stored in our brain somewhere. It just takes longer to find the words. Like even in Dutch, if I wouldn't speak it very often, I've had years where I've hardly spoken Dutch. And then I would notice I'd speak slower, I would use English words instead. So that's just normal, but it's not like the language disappears. And that feels really, really nice to not have to worry about all my languages as if they're like creatures I have to take care of, but it's more like, okay, I'm not using this language, but I can speak it whenever I want it. And I can always activate it, like I said before, with the radio. So that has just given me complete, basically, like I feel a lot more relaxed when it comes to that, because I also have work, I also have things going on. I can't maintain 10 languages on a daily basis. When it comes to the languages I'm learning at this time, I'm actually not actively learning any new languages yet, but I'm more, as I said, maintaining the ones I have at the language community. So we speak a lot of Portuguese, French, German. So my German has improved a lot in the past month. Like we speak it almost every day. So now I'm just like, where are the Germans in Barcelona? Now we need to speak it with them. So yeah.
So people, we are in the last minutes. If you have more comments. Em português também, pode ser, em espanhol.
É bom mudar um pouquinho, né?
Vamos lá. Vamos terminar em português, então. Mais algum
Vai
comentário?
terminar em pizza.
Terminar em pizza? Na Holanda as coisas terminam em pizza também ou não? Marjolein.
Não.
Mas você sabe o que significa isso?
Não, eu não sei. O que é terminar em pizza?
É quando nada é resolvido e as coisas continuam na mesma. Eu acho que é isso, né?
The Brazilian way.
Nice.
Mas pizza é bom. Ontem o Poliglotar terminou em pizza. A gente foi comer pizza.
Sim.
Rafael tem uma pergunta. Rafael.
Oi, posso fazer uma pergunta rapidinho antes de finalizar?
Pode, claro.
Eu vou fazer em português, né? Agora a gente está no português. É o seguinte, para mim, assim, eu já tenho conhecimento em alemão e em espanhol, um bom conhecimento. E eu estou trabalhando com tradução e, mais recentemente, com interpretação também, né? E, assim, eu preciso ainda progredir no meu inglês. Eu não sei se vocês trabalham com línguas ou se é só hobby de vocês, eu não vi o inicinho da palestra. Mas, assim, eu preciso ainda aprimorar o meu inglês, principalmente para interpretação, no entendimento do nativo falando inglês. Só que eu morei na Alemanha 1 ano e meio, mas eu estou num conflito se eu estudo espanhol ou se eu foco no alemão, porque eu tenho pouco tempo. Então, assim, eu morei 1 ano e meio na Alemanha, eu estudei interpretação aqui de alemão, entendi tudo. Assim, o meu entendimento do alemão é muito bom, preciso melhorar. Mas eu fico nesse conflito, sabe? Porque eu preciso estudar inglês, preciso estudar alemão e preciso estudar espanhol. Vocês teriam alguma dica para me dar nesse sentido?
E por que você precisa de espanhol?
Na verdade, porque eu já tenho um conhecimento bom, já estive na Espanha, tenho parentes que moram na Espanha, tenho contato com espanhol. E espanhol é uma língua muito próxima, entendeu? Para mim, até para trabalhar com tradução em espanhol é prático, mas fica difícil conciliar tempo, sabe? Para estudar tantas línguas ao mesmo tempo, e sendo que a minha língua de trabalho principal é o inglês.
Como já falamos na apresentação, é possível também, né, neste momento, escolher dois idiomas e fazer muito para esses dois, né? E dois eu acho perfeito, porque se você escolher só um idioma, você pode pensar todo o tempo, mas eu preciso de mais idiomas, porque também preciso de aprender, não sei. Não? Então, você pode escolher, no momento, só 2 idiomas e fazer muito para esses idiomas. Então, da manhã, da noite, né? E fim de semana. Então, eu acho que assim você vai ver progresso, realmente. E depois de uns meses, você pode mudar, trocar, né, de idioma. E escolher, então, por exemplo, o espanhol. E agora começar com o alemão e inglês. Não sei como...
Entendi.
E Sam, ok, você...
Concordo plenamente. Eu ia falar isso agora, que pelo que parece que há uma prioridade no momento para você seria o alemão e o inglês, porque você disse que o espanhol já leva bem, então já está com mais facilidade, então os que vão demandar mais esforço vai ser o alemão e o inglês. Então eu também recomendaria que você ficasse com o alemão e o inglês tipo ativamente E, bem, como a
Isso.
gente falou, como a Mario falou, mantendo o espanhol, né? Aprendendo um pouquinho, escutando alguma coisa, fazendo algo, usando bastante do seu tempo que, tipo, that time, né? Tipo, por exemplo, você tá fazendo alguma coisa, escutando um podcast, sempre fazendo alguma
Sim.
coisa nesse aprendizado passivo e alguns minutinhos no teu dia, já que, com certeza, como você disse, tá muito ocupado e, tipo, se você pegar alguns minutos, às vezes 20 minutinhos para cada, ou quanto tempo você tiver, para você estudar ativamente o inglês e o alemão, já, cara, já faz grandes coisas se você usar o seu aprendizado passivo, que é durante o dia, escutando bastante podcast, escutando rádio, fazendo coisas que você gosta também.
Sim, entendi. Muito obrigado.
Mas só lembrando que para quem é brasileiro, os principais idiomas de trabalho na tradução e na interpretação são inglês e espanhol. Assim, isso aí é um fato do mercado, né?
Obrigado aí.
Também.
Juliano.
Mas é isso. Então, eu acho que a gente terminou, né? Tem uma pergunta aqui do Miguel. Do you two already meet in Barcelona?
I don't know if he's talking about
Era
Ciro
con
or
Ciro,
Francesco.
disculpa.
Okay.
É com
Era
outra
Ciro e
pessoa.
Francesco.
But I've met Ciro just like, we met a couple of weeks ago and we saw each other 2 days ago. It was a lot of fun. So anyone who is in Barcelona, come meet us.
Quem tiver em São Gonçalo aí também.
Então, pessoal, foi uma palestra muito legal. O pessoal gostou bastante, viu? Obrigado aí pelas dicas. The
Muito
Language
obrigada a
Community.
vocês.
Muito obrigado,
Ótimo.
pessoal, pelas perguntas e pela recepção.
Agora vamos
Barcelona, hora
almoçar.
bona.
Partiu.
Tchau, pessoal. Até mais. Auf Wiedersehen.
Tchau. Obrigada.
Gracias.